The ship came down through the red clouds of planet like a falling stone. It was old and ugly. The paint was coming off in many places. The name on the side said The Steady Hand, but the letters were hard to read because of all the rust. Inside the ship, a man named was checking his tools for the third time. He was 32 years old. His hair was messy and his clothes were simple work clothes with many pockets. There was nothing special about him. He was not tall. He was not strong. He was not handsome. He was just a repairman who fixed broken machines across the galaxy. The ship landed on a flat area made of black stone. 3 red moons hung in the sky above. Had never seen red moons before. On Earth, where he was born, the moon was white and silver. But he had stopped being surprised by strange things many years ago. When you travel to 100 different worlds, you learn that the universe is full of things you have never seen. He opened the door of his ship and stepped outside. The air was hot and smelled like metal. In front of him stood a group of beings that made his heart beat a little faster. They were dragon warriors. Each one was over 2 meters tall. Their skin was covered in black scales that shined like polished stone. Their eyes were gold and seemed to glow with inner fire. They had claws on their hands and feet, and their faces were like a mix between a human and a dragon from old Earth stories. Had read about them. The Empire was one of the oldest and most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They were proud warriors who valued strength and honor above all things. They did not like weakness. They did not like asking for help from others. But here they were, waiting for a human repairman. The one in front was clearly the leader. She was female, though it was hard to tell with unless you knew what to look for. Her scales had a slight red color at the edges, and she wore armor made of some dark metal. Her eyes looked at like he was an insect that had crawled into her food. "I am General," she said. Her voice was deep and rough. "Commander of the Obsidian Legion. You are the engineer they sent." "Yes," said. He pulled his tool bag from the ship. "Galactic Repair Guild. I am here to fix your dimensional gate." General made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a growl. "The guild sends us one human, one small, soft human. Our finest engineers have worked on that gate for 3 cycles. They could not fix it, and the guild thinks you can." Did not get angry. He had heard words like this many times before. Every species in the galaxy looked down on humans. Humans were young. Humans were weak. Humans lived short lives and had no natural weapons, no claws, no scales, no special powers. "I will try my best," said simply. "Can someone show me the gate?" A younger stepped forward. His scales had silver tips, which meant he was from a noble family. "I am Captain, I will take you there." General turned away without another word. As she walked, heard her say to another officer, "Send a message to the guild. Tell them we need a real engineer, not this." Captain looked uncomfortable. "Please follow me," he said too. They walked across the black stone plain toward a massive structure in the distance. As they got closer, could see what the dimensional gate looked like. It was an arch made of crystal and metal, taller than any building he had ever seen. Strange lights moved inside the crystal like trapped lightning, but the lights were flickering and weak. Sometimes they went out completely before coming back again. "How long has it been broken?" asked. 3 standard cycles," said. "About 90 of your Earth days. At first it was small problems. Sometimes ships would arrive at the wrong place. Sometimes the connection would drop for a few minutes, but it got worse and worse. Now we cannot use it at all." "Study the gate carefully. Have your engineers found anything?" "They say the core systems are fine. The power supply is good. Everything should work, but it does not." "Sometimes the problem is not in the big things," said. "Sometimes it is in the small things that no one thinks to check." Looked at him with something like curiosity. "You speak like someone who has fixed many broken things." "I have," said. "That is all I do. I go where things are broken, I fix them, I leave." They reached the base of the gate. Up close, it was even more impressive. The crystal hummed with energy and could feel it in his bones. This was old technology, very old, older than the Empire itself, he guessed. "I will need access to the maintenance tunnels," he said. "I will arrange it. And I will need to be left alone while I work. No one watching over my shoulder. No one asking questions every 5 minutes." Nodded slowly. "The general will not like that." "The general does not have to like it. She just has to let me work." For a moment, something like respect flickered in his golden eyes. Then it was gone. "I will tell her." Set up a small camp near the gate. He did not stay in the buildings. He did not eat their food or use their beds. He stayed in his ship and ate his own supplies. It was not because he was unfriendly. It was because he had learned that it was easier to work when you did not owe anyone anything. For 3 days he worked. He crawled through tunnels that were too small for. He checked systems that had not been opened in hundreds of years. He used tools that he had made himself, designed for problems that other engineers did not even know existed. They watched him from a distance. He could feel their eyes on him all the time. Some were curious. Most were doubtful. A few were angry that their empire had to depend on such a small and weak creature. General came to check on him once each day. Each time she asked the same question, "Is it fixed yet?" Each time gave the same answer, "Not yet." On the third day, she lost her patience. "The guild promised us the best. They sent us nothing. When this is over, I will make sure everyone knows that humans are useless." Kept working, he did not answer her. That night, deep in the lowest maintenance tunnel, his scanner found something strange. There was writing on the wall, old writing in a language his translator could barely understand. He took a picture of it and kept moving. An hour later, he found the problem. A small crystal, no bigger than his thumb, had moved out of position. Not by much, just a tiny, tiny amount. But that tiny movement had thrown the whole gate out of balance. Looked at the crystal for a long time. This kind of damage did not happen by accident. Someone had done this on purpose. Someone who knew exactly how the gate worked. Someone who wanted it to fail. He did not sleep that night. He sat in his ship, looking at the picture of the old writing and thinking about who would want to break a gate that connected an entire empire to the rest of the galaxy. The answer, he knew, would not be simple. It never was. But first he would fix the gate. That was his job. That was what he did. The other problems could wait until morning. The morning came slowly on. The 3 red moons faded one by one as a dim orange sun rose over the black stone plains. Had not slept at all. His eyes were tired and his body was sore from crawling through narrow tunnels, but his mind was sharp and clear. He knew what was wrong with the gate. He knew how to fix it, and he knew that someone had broken it on purpose. The question was, what should he do with that information? He could just fix the gate and leave. That was his job. He was not a detective. He was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was just a man who fixed broken things. The politics of the empire were not his problem. But something felt wrong about walking away. If someone had sabotaged the gate once, they could do it again. And next time, maybe they would do something worse. Ate a small breakfast and drank some water. Then he gathered his tools and walked toward General's command tent. The tent was large and made of some kind of animal skin. Inside, it was surprisingly comfortable. There were chairs and tables made of dark wood. Maps covered the walls. Several officers sat around a central table, discussing something in low voices. They all stopped talking when walked in. General stood up. Her golden eyes were cold. "You have news." "The gate will be working by tonight," said. Silence. The officers looked at each other. The expression did not change, but something shifted in her eyes. Surprise, maybe, or disbelief. "You fixed it?" Captain asked. "I found the problem. A resonance crystal was moved out of position. Only a very small amount, but enough to break everything. I will put it back in place today, and the gate will work again. Walked around the table until she stood directly in front of. She was much taller than him. Her shadow covered him completely. Our engineers checked every crystal. They found nothing wrong. They were looking for big problems, said. This was a small problem, so small that normal scanners would not find it. I had to use special tools. Special tools that only humans have. Special tools that only I have. I made them myself. Stared at him for a long moment. Then she made that sound again, the one that might be a laugh or a growl. Perhaps the guild knew what they were doing after all. There is something else, said. The damage was not an accident. Someone moved that crystal on purpose. You have a saboteur. The room became very quiet. The officers stopped moving. Eyes became narrow and dangerous. That is a serious thing to say, she said slowly. A very serious thing. I know, but it is true. That kind of damage cannot happen by itself. Someone who knew exactly how the gate works went inside and moved that crystal by hand. Someone wanted your gate to fail. Do you have proof? Only what I saw, but I am certain. Turned away from him. She looked at her officers, then at the maps on the walls. When she turned back, her expression was unreadable. We will discuss this later. For now, fix the gate. Captain will help you with anything you need. Nodded and turned to leave, but as he reached the tent door, spoke again. Human. He stopped but did not turn around. Look at me. Turned, was staring at his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Her golden eyes moved across his features like she was searching for something. Then she saw it. The change in her was sudden and frightening. Her black scales turned pale, almost gray. Her golden eyes went wide. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. She took a step backward and knocked over a chair. General rushed forward. What is wrong? Did not answer him. She was still staring at his face. Specifically, she was staring at the left side of his temple, where a small scar curved like a crescent moon. Touched it without thinking. He had been born with that mark. His mother used to call it his lucky moon. It was just a birthmark, nothing special. Many humans had birthmarks. But was looking at it like she had seen a ghost. Where did you get that mark? She whispered. I was born with it, said. It is just a birthmark. Shook her head slowly. No, no, it is not. And then she did something that never expected to see. General, commander of the Obsidian Legion, proud warrior of the Empire, fell to her knees before him. General shouted. Kneel, commanded. Her voice was trembling but strong. All of you kneel before him. The officers looked confused and scared, but they knew their general. They knew she would not give such an order without reason. One by one, they lowered themselves to their knees. Stood frozen. He did not understand what was happening. His heart was beating fast and his hands were shaking. Please stand up, he said. I do not know why you are doing this, but please stand up. I am just a repairman. Looked up at him, her eyes were wet. Dragons could cry, realized. He had not known that. You do not know, she said. Of course you do not know. How could you know? Know what? Stood slowly. She wiped her eyes with the back of her scaled hand. Then she walked to the wall of the tent and pulled down one of the old tapestries that hung there. Behind it was a painting. Very old, very faded, but still clear enough to see. It showed a figure standing before a great darkness. The figure was small and soft-looking, clearly not from this world at all. And on the left side of its face, curving like a crescent moon, was a mark exactly like the one on its temple. 3,000 years ago, said, we were slaves. She told him the story. Long ago, before the empire existed, her people had been prisoners of beings called the Void Kings. These creatures were made of darkness and hunger. They fed on the life force of other species. They had machines that could drain the soul from a living body. That had been their favorite food. For 1,000 years they had lived and died as cattle. They had no hope. They had accepted that their species would end. Then a stranger came. He was small and weak. He came from a world no one had ever heard of. He was not a warrior or a king. He was just a man who fixed broken machines. He had come to because the Void King's soul-draining machines were broken, and they had put out a call for engineers. The stranger came to repair them. But when he saw what the machines were used for, when he saw the suffering of he did something unexpected. He did not repair the machines. He understood them. He learned how they worked better than the Void Kings themselves, and then he turned the machines against their masters. In one night he destroyed the Void Kings. He freed he gave them back their world and their future. We called him the Gentle Star, said, because he was soft and kind, but he burned brighter than any warrior we had ever known. We offered him everything, our empire, our loyalty, our lives. He refused it all. He said he had more gates to fix, more broken things to repair. He left and never came back. She pointed at the painting. But before he left, he made us a promise. He said that if we were ever truly lost, if we ever faced a darkness we could not defeat alone, one bearing his mark would return to help us. His throat was dry. That is just a story. We thought so too, said. For 3,000 years we searched for that mark, on every species, on every world. We never found it. We began to believe it was just a legend. She stepped toward him and gently touched the crescent moon on his temple. Until today. Sat alone in his ship that night. He could not sleep. His mind kept going back to what General had told him. The story of the Gentle Star, the prophecy, the mark on his face that he had carried since birth. It was impossible. It had to be impossible. He was nobody special. He was from the Outer Rim colonies. His father had been a factory worker. His mother had been a teacher. They were ordinary people who lived ordinary lives. There was nothing magical or special about his family. And yet, he touched the crescent moon scar on his temple. His mother had loved this mark. She would kiss it every night before bed and call it his lucky moon. Someday, she used to say, this mark will lead you somewhere wonderful. He had always thought she was just being kind. Mothers said things like that. They made their children feel special even when they were not. But what if she had known something? What if there was more to his family history than he had ever learned? Shook his head. He was thinking crazy thoughts. This was just a coincidence. Many beings across the galaxy probably had similar birthmarks. They wanted to believe in their legends so badly that they saw meaning where there was none. He was just a repairman. That was all he had ever been. That was all he would ever be. A knock on the ship door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he said. Captain entered. The young looked different now. Before, he had treated with distant politeness like a servant dealing with an unwanted guest. Now there was respect in his eyes, and something else, something like hope. "The general wants to see you," said. "There are things you need to know." "What things?" Hesitated. "It is better if she explains. Please come with me." They walked across the black stone plain under the 3 red moons. The night was quiet. Too quiet, thought. On his first night here, he had heard sounds in the darkness. Animals or insects or something else. Tonight there was nothing. General was waiting in her command tent. But she was not alone. Several others were there. Some wore the armor of warriors. Others wore robes that marked them as priests or scholars. All of them looked at with the same expression of wonder and disbelief. "Please sit," said, pointing to a chair. Sat. The chair was too big for him, made for bodies. His feet did not touch the ground. "I have told the High Council about you," said. "They did not believe me at first, but I showed them pictures of your mark. I showed them the ancient paintings. The match is perfect." "It could still be a coincidence," said. "No," said one of the robed. He was old, his scales faded to dark gray. "I have studied the prophecy my entire life. I have searched for the Gentle Star's mark across 1,000 worlds. The shape, the size, the exact position on the face, everything matches. This is not coincidence. This is destiny. Did not know what to say. There is more, said. The sabotage you discovered, it is part of something larger. She gestured to who activated a holographic display above the table. Images appeared, with crimson markings on their scales, secret meetings in dark places, weapons being gathered. They call themselves the explained. They believe that our empire has become weak by connecting with other species. They want us to close all our gates, break all our alliances, and return to the old ways of isolation and conquest. How many are there? Asked. We do not know exactly. Hundreds at least, maybe thousands. They have supporters in the military, in the government, even among the priests. They have been growing in secret for many years. And they sabotaged the gate. Yes, they want to cut us off from the galaxy. They want to prove that we do not need anyone else, that we are strongest when we are alone. Thought about this. Why are you telling me? This is your problem, not mine. I am not even a citizen of your empire. Leaned forward. Because they hate humans most of all. They believe that the story of the gentle star is a lie. They say that no human could have ever saved our people. They say it was strength that defeated the Void Kings, and that the legend was created later to justify our alliances with weaker species. If they find out about me and my mark, they will try to kill you. If they can prove that the prophecy is false, if they can show that the mark means nothing, they will have one. Many who still believe in the old stories will lose hope. The movement will grow even stronger. Was quiet for a long moment. He looked at the faces around him. These were proud beings, powerful warriors, and they were looking at him like he was their only hope. I am not a hero, he said finally. I do not know how to fight. I do not know how to lead armies. I am just a man who fixes broken things. The old priest smiled. That is exactly what the first gentle star said, word for word according to our oldest texts. He was also just a man who fixed broken things, said, but he fixed more than machines. He fixed our broken spirit. He fixed our broken hope. He showed us that strength is not only about claws and scales. Sometimes strength is about connection, about helping others, about showing up when you are needed, even when no one expects you to. Stood up, he walked to the tent entrance and looked out at the night sky. The 3 red moons were bright above him. My mother used to tell me something, he said without turning around. She said that the most important repairs are not to machines, they are to trust, to faith, to the bridges between people. She sounds like a wise woman. She was, turned back to face them. I will help you, not because of some prophecy, not because of this mark on my face, but because someone broke your gate on purpose, and I do not like people who break things. Stood and placed her clawed hand over her chest in a gesture of respect. Thank you, gentle star. My name is. I know, but to us you will always be the gentle star, whether you believe it or not. A sudden explosion shook the tent. The ground beneath them trembled. Alarms began screaming across the camp. Rushed to the entrance. His face went pale when he saw what was outside. General, though they are attacking the gate. Through the tent opening, could see fires burning in the distance. The massive shape of the dimensional gate was surrounded by fighting. Energy weapons flashed in the darkness. The sound of battle filled the air. Grabbed her weapon from the wall. They know. Somehow they know about him. They are trying to destroy the gate before we can prove the prophecy is true. She turned to. Her eyes were fierce and bright. Can you still fix it? If we protect you, can you still make it work? Picked up his tool bag. His hands were shaking, but his voice was steady. Yes, he said, but we need to hurry. They ran out into the night, toward the fire and the fighting and the broken gate that held the future of an empire. The night had turned into chaos. Fire and smoke filled the air. The sound of energy weapons and screaming warriors echoed across the black stone plains. ran as fast as he could, his tool bag hitting against his leg with every step. General and Captain ran beside him. Around them, loyal soldiers formed a protective circle. They were heading toward the dimensional gate, which was now surrounded by fighting. They had come in force. Hundreds of them, their scales marked with crimson symbols. They attacked without mercy, cutting down anyone who stood in their way. They were trying to reach the gate, trying to destroy it forever. "How did they know?" shouted over the noise of battle. "How did they find out about him so quickly?" "Someone told them," growled. "We have a spy among us." Did not care about spies or politics. He only cared about reaching the gate. He could see it ahead, still flickering with unstable energy. The repair he had planned to finish in the morning would have to happen now, in the middle of a battle. A warrior jumped in front of them, his energy blade raised high. Before could even react was there. Her own blade met his with a crash of sparks. In 2 quick moves she cut him down and kept running. "Stay close to me," she said too. "Whatever happens, do not stop moving." They pushed through the edge of the battle. Loyal soldiers held back the while, and his protectors made it to the base of the gate. The entrance to the maintenance tunnels was still open, just as had left it. "I need to go down there," said. "It will take about 20 minutes to complete the repair." "We will hold them," said. She turned to. "Go with him, protect him with your life." "Yes, General," and climbed down into the tunnels. The sounds of battle became distant, muffled by stone and crystal. Emergency lights flickered on and off, casting strange shadows on the walls. "Do you really believe in the prophecy?" asked as they moved through the narrow passages. Was quiet for a moment. "I did not. Not until I saw your face. Not until I saw the General kneel. She has never knelt to anyone, not to the Emperor, not to the High Council, not to anyone. She should not kneel to me either. I am nothing special." "You keep saying that, but special people never think they are special. That is what makes them special." They reached the deepest part of the tunnel, where the resonance crystals were housed. Opened his tool bag and got to work. His hands moved quickly and carefully, adjusting the tiny crystal that had been moved out of position. "I need to ask you something," said while watching him work. "The first gentle star, the one who saved us 3,000 years ago, what do you think he was really like?" Did not look up from his work. "I do not know, I never met him." "But you carry his mark. You must have some connection to him." "I carry a birthmark, that is all. Maybe it is connected to him somehow. Maybe it is just random chance. I do not know, and I am not sure it matters." "How can you say it does not matter?" Paused, he looked at the young with tired eyes. "Because what matters is not who I am or where I came from. What matters is what I do, right here, right now. The first gentle star did not save your people because of some prophecy. He saved them because he saw suffering and chose to help. That is the only thing that matters." Was silent, thinking about this. A loud crash came from somewhere above them. Dust fell from the ceiling. The battle was getting closer. "How much longer?" asked. 5 minutes, maybe less." They heard footsteps, heavy footsteps coming down the tunnel toward them. Drew his weapon and moved in front of. A massive appeared from the shadows. He was the biggest one had seen, over 3 meters tall. His scales were pure black, and his eyes burned with red fire instead of gold. Crimson markings covered his body. "Lord," said. His voice was steady but could see fear in his eyes. "Captain," the giant replied. "I always knew you were weak, serving that fool and now protecting a human. You are a disgrace to our species." "You are the disgrace," shot back. "You would destroy our connection to the galaxy. You would throw away 3,000 years of progress." "Progress?" laughed. It was an ugly sound. "We have become soft. We have forgotten what we are. We are conquerors. We do not need other species. We do not need alliances. And we certainly do not need humans." He looked past that, who was still working on the crystal with focused concentration. "This is the one. This tiny, weak creature, this is your gentle star, laughed again. The prophecy is a lie. It was always a lie. No human saved us from the Void Kings. We saved ourselves. The legend was created by cowards who wanted to justify their weakness. The mark is real, said. You can see it yourself. It matches the ancient paintings exactly. A coincidence or a trick, it does not matter. I will kill him, destroy the gate, and end this foolishness forever. He raised his energy blade and moved forward. Attacked, he was fast and skilled, his blade dancing through the air, but was bigger, stronger, and more experienced. He blocked every strike with ease. Then he hit with a backhand blow that sent the young captain flying into the wall. Fell and did not get up. Stepped over his body and walked toward, any last words human. Did not stop working, he did not even look up. You know, he said calmly, I have met many beings like you across the galaxy, beings who think that strength means standing alone, who believe that asking for help is weakness, who destroy connections because they fear what they do not understand. Are you trying to lecture me? Raised his blade. No, I am trying to distract you. At that moment the crystal clicked into place. The gate above them hummed with sudden power. Emergency lights turned to steady blue, and from the crystal array a wave of energy burst outward. It was not an attack. It was a signal, a broadcast on every frequency the gate could reach, sent to every connected world in the galaxy. Staggered back in surprise. What did you do? Finally looked up. There was no fear in his eyes, only a quiet determination. I fixed the gate, and I sent a message to the Galactic Repair Guild, to every ship within range, to everyone who is connected to this network. What message? I told them where I am. I told them I might need help, and I told them that someone is trying to break what we spent centuries building. Snarled and raised his blade again. It does not matter. Help will not arrive in time. You will die here and your message will mean nothing. Maybe, said, but you are wrong about one thing. What? I was not trying to survive. I was trying to fix the gate. That was my job. That is what I came here to do. He held up his hands, empty except for his tools. The gate is fixed now. Kill me if you want. It will not change anything. The signal is already sent. The connection is already made. You cannot break what I have built. Stood frozen, his blade trembling with rage. For a moment was sure he would die. Then there was a flash of light behind them. General burst through the tunnel entrance, her armor covered in blood and burns, her eyes blazing with fury. Get away from him, she growled, and charged at with her blade raised. The two generals clashed in a storm of fire and metal. The tunnel shook with the force of their battle, crawled to where lay and checked for a pulse. The young captain was alive but unconscious. The fight between and was terrible and beautiful. They moved like flames, their blades singing through the air, but was bigger and was tired from fighting through the battle above. Slowly she began to lose. Watched helpless, he had no weapons, he had no strength. He was just a repairman with a bag of tools. A bag of tools. He looked down at his toolkit. Inside was a small device he used for emergency repairs, a magnetic pulse emitter. It could disrupt electronic systems within a small radius, including the energy blade that was using. Grabbed the device and aimed it at the fighting giants. He pressed the button. There was a soft flash. His blade flickered and died, just for a moment, just long enough for to see her chance. Her blade found its mark. Felt surprise frozen on his face. Stood over his body, breathing hard. Then she turned to look at. Did you just? I fixed the problem, said simply. That is what I do. Despite everything, despite the blood and the death and the chaos, General laughed. 3 weeks had passed since the battle. The 3 red moons have shone down on a changed world. The rebellion was over. With dead and the gate working again, support for the movement had collapsed like a house built on sand. Many had been captured. Others had run away. Some had simply given up and gone back to their normal lives, ashamed of what they had almost done. The dimensional gate stood tall and proud, its crystals glowing with steady light. Ships came and went through its portal every day. Trade goods, diplomats, engineers from a dozen different worlds, all coming to help rebuild what they had tried to destroy. Had stayed longer than he planned. He told himself it was because the gate needed more work. There were old systems that had not been maintained in centuries. There were upgrades that could make it stronger, more stable, more efficient. These were good reasons. But the truth was simpler. For the first time in his long career, did not want to leave. They had accepted him, not as a god or a prophecy come to life, but as a friend, as someone who had helped them when they needed it most. Young engineers followed him around, asking questions and writing down everything he said. Children pointed at him in the streets and asked their parents about the human with the moon on his face. General visited him every day. They talked about the gate, about engineering, about the galaxy. She told him stories of history. He told her stories of Earth and the outer rim colonies where he grew up. They argued about the best way to align resonance crystals. They laughed about the confused look on his face when his blade stopped working. Captain had recovered from his injuries. He was a little slower now, a little more careful, but the experience had changed him in other ways too. He had started studying human engineering techniques. He said he wanted to understand how someone so small and soft could be so brave. On the last morning of his stay, woke early and walked to the hill that overlooked the gate. The orange sun was just rising. The black stone plain stretched out before him, beautiful in the early light. He heard footsteps behind him, came to stand beside him. "Leaving today?" she asked. "Yes, I got a call yesterday. There is a communications tower on the third moon of 7. It has been broken for months. They asked if I could take a look." "And you said yes." "I always say yes, that is the job." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the sun rise. "I still do not understand," said. "You could stay here. You could have anything you want. The emperor himself has offered you land, wealth, titles. You could live like a king for the rest of your life." Smiled, "I do not want to live like a king. I just want to fix things." "But why? What drives you to travel from world to world, repairing broken machines for people who often do not even thank you? What are you looking for?" Thought about the question for a long time. He thought about his mother and her gentle hands. He thought about the crescent moon on his face and all the places it had taken him. He thought about the gentle star from 3,000 years ago, whoever he really was. "My mother used to tell me a story," he said finally. "She said that the universe is like a great machine, billions of parts all connected. When one part breaks, the whole machine suffers. But when you fix that one part, you do not just help that one piece. You help everything connected to it." A beautiful thought. I did not understand it when I was young. I thought she was just being poetic. But as I got older, as I traveled and saw more of the galaxy, I started to see what she meant. Everything is connected. The gate here on connects to the network that connects to 1,000 other worlds. When your gate was broken, ships could not travel. Trade stopped. Messages did not get through. People on worlds you have never heard of were affected by what happened here. And when you fixed it? When I fixed it, I did not just help. I helped everyone who depends on the network. That trader who was waiting for supplies. That family trying to contact their relatives on another planet. That scientist who needed data from a distant observatory. They may never know who fixed the gate. They may never know that there was a problem at all. But their lives are better because the connection is working again. Nodded slowly. The first gentle star said something similar. According to our oldest texts, he said that the greatest power in the universe is not strength or wealth or even knowledge. It is connection, the bonds between beings, the bridges we build to each other. Smart man. He was, and so are you. They heard the sound of engines. Ship, the steady hand, was warming up on the landing pad below, was standing beside it, waiting to say goodbye. "Before you go," said, "I want to give you something." She reached into her armor and pulled out a small object. It was a scale, black and shining, about the size of his palm. "This is one of my scales," she explained. "I pulled it out myself. Among my people, giving someone a scale is the highest sign of respect and friendship. It means that wherever you go, a piece of me goes with you. It means that you are family." Took the scale carefully. It was warm to the touch and surprisingly light. "I do not know what to say." "Say that you will come back, not for the prophecy, not for duty, just to visit, just to sit with me and argue about crystal alignment while watching the moons rise." Looked at the scale in his hand. He thought about all the worlds he had visited, all the machines he had fixed, all the people he had met. He had never stayed anywhere for long. He had never made real friends. He had always told himself that was the life of a repairman, always moving, always leaving. But maybe that did not have to be true. "I will come back," he said. "I promise." Smiled. It was still a smile, full of teeth and not quite right by human standards, but had learned to read it. There was warmth there, real warmth. They walked down to the landing pad together. Saluted when they arrived, his fist pressed against his chest. "Safe travels, gentle star," he said. "I told you my name is." "I know, but I like the other name better." Laughed and shook the young captain's hand. Then he climbed into his ship and started the launch sequence. As the steady hand rose into the sky, he looked down at the shrinking figures below, and standing side by side, watching him leave. Behind them, the dimensional gate glowed with perfect, steady light. Touched the crescent moon scar on his temple. Then he touched the scale in his pocket, 2 marks of connection, 2 bridges to people who mattered. He set his course for 7. There was a broken tower waiting for him. There were always broken things waiting for him. But now, for the first time, there were also people waiting for him to come back. The stars stretched out before him, endless and full of possibilities. Somewhere out there, more gates would break, more systems would fail, more people would need help. And would be there, not because of prophecy, not because of destiny, but because that was who he was. A man who fixed broken things, a man who built connections, a man who showed up when he was needed. Just like the gentle star before him. Just like, perhaps, others would after him. The universe was vast and full of broken things, but it was also full of people willing to fix them. That was the real lesson. That was the real legacy. Not prophecy, not destiny, just ordinary people doing extraordinary things, one repair at a time. The steady hand jumped too, and the repairman with the moon on his face disappeared into the endless sky. Behind him, General watched until his ship was gone. Then she turned to with something like peace in her ancient eyes. "Do you think he knows?" asked. "Do you think he knows how special he really is?" Shook her head. "No, and that is what makes him special." She looked up at the sky one more time. Somewhere out there, a human was flying toward another broken machine, another world that needed help. And somehow, that made the whole universe feel a little less broken.